What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 90s First Take, the weekly debate show on the video game news in current media and everything, Today is a very special episode. I'm really excited both to have my co-host, Jelly, back. It's been a couple episodes, I think, of First Take.
I missed the last one.
Yeah, so it's good to have you back, man, and thank you for taking Sunday time
Good to be
out.
back.
And we're thrilled and humbled to have Brian Shea, the digital editor at Game Informer. Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Ready to podcast, talk about video games. We normally do a debate on this, but since we're having you on, we're just going to do an interview with you, and thoroughly excited about it to get to know you a little bit better and kind of get to know games industry a little bit better. I wanted to really quickly, before we get into that interview, Game Informer just revealed their new cover on Kena, Bridge of Spirits, which is personally my favorite game from that PS5 showcase. I'm very excited. Glad it's coming to Xbox because I'm more of a Xbox player. But are you guys excited about that cover reveal, and what are some of the steps ahead with that?
Yeah, we're super excited for that cover reveal. Primarily because I wasn't a part of the cover, the coverage that we're doing, but the people who were got to see it playing on a PS5, which is super awesome. That's something that not a lot of people have had a chance to do. And we're gonna have a full reveal. I guess by the time this episode hits, we should have our full reveal up on GameInformer.com, and then also the digital issue should be live for people who want to check it out. But there's a lot of really cool, juicy details about this game. We're really excited about it. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't put it on our cover. We're pretty picky about what games we put on our cover.
Yeah.
And this is one that we were super excited about. It was kind of like an under the radar game until its big coming out party with Sony's thing. And yeah, we thought it looked really cool. People on YouTube seemed to love it. It was one of the most viewed trailers from that. I guess, was that a State of Play? Or no, it's called Future of Gaming. That's what Sony was calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the PS5, pretty much the big reveal for the PS5. So, and it was also when they announced Kena. So, just one that people seem to be pretty stoked on, and we kind of echoed that sentiment. So we wanted to kind of tell people why they should be excited, learn more about it ourselves, obviously, and then echo back why people should be excited about this game, which is kind of what our mission is with all of our cover stories. We see a game that looks really cool, and we try to learn more about it, and then report on why this game is cool and why people should care about this game.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check it out because I don't know anything about it yet. I'm just looking at I'm just now looking at the cover art for it, and it looks legit. I mean, it reminds me almost of, or the environment reminds me of Fable or some sort of fantasy RPG like that, which looks cool. A bit more detailed and way cooler looking.
Yeah, it totally has a lot of. It almost gives me a Zelda vibe from what I've seen, which is totally up my alley. I mean, that's what I'm really looking forward to with a lot of these games that kind of give off those. It's inspired by a Zelda game. Remember the game Ubisoft's putting out, Gods and Monsters. That was a game that it almost looked like what if the Assassin's Creed team did a Zelda game? And I was like, man, I am so in for that because I loved Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it's that same team, I believe. So that's one that I'm really looking forward to as well.
They just renamed that one. Something completely different than Gods and Monsters. At least that was the leak that I saw.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called now, but I just keep referring to it as Gods and Monsters because that was a game that when I guess it was last E3 in 2019 when they revealed that, and it immediately went on my radar. I was like, all right, Gods and Monsters, circling that date. I think they had a release date at that point, and then they pushed pretty much all of their games. So it kind of went into hiding, it seemed like, and reemerged allegedly with a new name.
Yeah, but you harken back to the Gods and Monsters, both Kena and Gods and Monsters, their art style is really phenomenal. I love that cartoony art style. I'm playing a game, and we'll get to it later, but I'm playing a game called Drake Hollow from Game Pass, and that one has that kind of same art style, and it's really fun. But yeah, Kena, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to reading the cover story and everything. So Brian, we have 2 other shows in our podcasting network on 90s TV shows and cartoons, as well as 90s movies. We recently just did one on Jurassic Park, and we have a segment called Guts that is based
very
on
90s.
Yes, based on the Nickelodeon game show. And so we're kind of twisting that interview for you into the Guts segment. So do you have the guts to answer all these questions?
I hope so.
I mean, that's kind of why we brought you here. So hope you have some fun with some of these. So, Jelly, let's just go back and forth. I'll start. You ready?
Sounds good.
All right. So, recently, Game Informer had a lot of changes. You know, Andy McNamara going over to EA, right? He's moved out to LA. Change of pace, really. Minnesota, snowy to sunny LA. That's crazy. But
the vibe change for sure.
Yeah.
Or on fire LA because they're burning.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
What would I know as a Californian?
Jelly's all the way in California. Forest fires. But so how have the recent changes at Game Informer been so far, and are you excited for the future of the magazine? And really, why is a magazine important to you guys in a mostly digital space?
Well, you know, I think I am really excited for the direction that we're going. We're going to be, you know, making, obviously, it's kind of like a new era, so we're going to be looking at like different things that we can do differently. You know, Andy Reiner, who is our new editor-in-chief, he is, you know, he's been at the magazine almost as long as Andy McNamara was. I think Andy McNamara was there for 29 years, and I think Reiner joined 2 or 3 years later. So he's been there more than 2 decades as well. So it's, I mean, almost 3 decades. So it's not like obviously losing Andy was a huge change for us. His experience. I don't know if you can find anybody in any position in the industry hardly with that level of experience. I mean, obviously, like you have like the Miyamotos and the Tezukas at Nintendo who have been at the same spot for longer, but like that's such a rarity to have, you know, 29 years of experience. He joined in 1991 when the magazine was founded. So he's been there. He's been here with us for so long, and you know it's so sad to see him go because obviously I loved working for him and working with him. He has that experience that is just, you can't supplement that with anything else. Like no matter how enthusiastic or knowledgeable you are, having nearly 3 decades of experience, let alone in one position, is impossible to replace. But like I said, Reiner is super experienced. He does amazing work. He's looking at all of the things that we do and trying to figure out, you know, subtle ways we can change things, subtle ways we can improve things. You know, there's a lot of new stuff. We're hiring new people right now. We just had our first new hire under this new era start, Jay Guisao. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's our new associate editor. He's already off and running. So yeah, just super excited for the direction it's going. Awesome. As for why a magazine, I mean, I personally I still thumb through the magazines every so often. It's just off camera, but I have at the top of my bookshelf all of the physical issues I've been published in, ranging back to before I joined GI, all the way like to official Xbox magazine. So it's
whoa, that's awesome.
I have to get a new shelf before too long because it's filling up pretty rapidly. And the Bethesda
starting to bow
figures
down in the middle.
Yeah, I have some Bethesda figures that are on like the edge, and they're starting to run out of space. I keep having to squish them closer to each other. Right. But yeah, so I mean, I love it personally. Even though I'm the digital editor and I kind of oversee the creation of the digital magazine from the editorial side, and you know, I work, I would say, primarily on the online component outside of that as well. You know, I think that a lot of people still really value having a magazine. I think that, you know, earlier or I guess not this decade, last decade, when we saw kind of like a magazine apocalypse happening, I think that was as much a result of oversaturation as it was, you know, having a lot of, or having people just lose interest in magazines and looking at other, like, the online space kind of fundamentally changed how people get their news and their reviews and their previews.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
There was obviously an unfortunate thinning of the herd, and thankfully we survived. And I feel like people still have excitement for getting the magazine. Like I play a huge role in running our Instagram account, and we get people tagging us all the time, so excited that their Game Informer came in the mail today. Nice. So that's always great to see, and people excited to get our work in the mail. So I think that there's people who still love it. Like, and we have a lot of people who they'll accidentally sign up for the digital magazine, and I love that people want the digital magazine. Like, we get people who sign up for it on purpose as well, but there are people who want to change over to print. Like, we get a lot of people who want to change over to print, and so there is still that demand for it, thankfully. And I mean, not even like from a nostalgic perspective, like me, like where I remember going to the library and getting like Game Pro, Nintendo Power, and EGM from my school library. I think that people still genuinely like holding a piece of, or a magazine of the new previews and reviews and thumbing through it, and there's something different about that. Like, it's hard for me to read on Kindle because I have to have like a physical book. So I think there's people like that. But that said, I still keep buying Kindle books because I'm like, oh, I'll read that eventually, and it is easy for travel when travel is advisable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the physical copy is better, and I'm a big reader. I'm an avid reader. Books mostly, not magazines, but still, I was one of those people who accidentally signed up for the digital one and then was sad because I didn't get my physical copy in the mail anymore.
Well, you can call them and they'll switch you over.
I couldn't access the digital ones though, so I couldn't figure out how to get into to log in to get all that, and like I'm pretty tech savvy, so I just didn't try hard enough. But I just gave up. I was like, I guess I won't read it for now.
We'll have to square you away for that. Hit me up after this.
Sounds good. All right. The Game Informer is the one that came with the GameStop. Is that the
it still does.
Yeah, I had that for.
Yeah, you can order it directly through us, or you can sign up at GameStop.
Okay. Yeah, I always signed up for their whatever they call them, power rewards or power level.
Power up.
Yeah.
Power ups. I knew it was power something. But yeah, I would get it, and then they were like, "Hey, do you want to sign up for the digital thing?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah," thinking I'd get both of them, but
yeah, just one, unfortunately.
But yeah, you're right. Having something to actually hold on to and turn the pages on, in my opinion, 1,000 times better.
And as much as I love the digital issue, like I play a part in like creating it, I love our covers, and it's great to hold that in our hand. Like our cover art is always so awesome. I mean, I have this framed right here because this was my cover story that I wrote, and like hard to see it without the reflection here.
Oh, that's great!
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the Pokemon cover story.
Yeah, I remember.
That I did last year.
Reading that. I remember reading that in that issue. I read the digital edition, but yeah, great cover story. That's cool. You framed it. That's just a cool cover to get framed anyway, even if it wasn't your article.
I mean, this day last year was the day I came back from that cover trip in Tokyo. So that was super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I would love to go to Japan.
About going to Tokyo now, it's crazy that just
I would
last
love
year.
to, but yeah. Seems like a decade ago.
Oh man.
Right. All right, Jelly, what you got?
Brian. Obviously pretty engrossed in the whole video game sphere, with your job and position, Game Informer. Where did it all begin for you? What game set you down this path? And follow up, favorite video game of all time?
All right. So, as far as becoming a gamer, I would say that like the first games that I ever played were actually at my family's house. Like I would go to my aunt and uncle's house on my mom's side, and they would have an NES with Tetris and Duck Hunt and Mario Brothers or Super Mario Brothers. And then on my dad's side, it would be they'd have an NES in their attic, and it was Zelda. So the original Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, I think Bases Loaded Baseball, and Goal 2, I believe, was the soccer game, because they were a family of soccer players. My cousins were. So I would always like disappear into the attic or the basement and play NES, like just hog the screen at all the family gatherings. And I remember one time I went over, so like, I was just absolutely like crazy about video games, like right off the bat. And I remember one time I went to my aunt and uncle's house, and I was all excited to play NES all weekend. I was just going to spend the weekend at their house, and the NES was gone. And I was like, what happened to the Nintendo? And they said, oh, we sold it. And I said, oh, why? And they're like, oh, we just didn't play it ever. And then years down the road, they told me that they just hid it when I came over because they wanted to actually spend time with me instead of having me just disappear for the entire weekend. Because I was just like, I don't forget how old I was, but I was just a little kid. It was like early 90s.
That's hysterical. Oh,
so
man.
That's, top 10 anime betrayals.
Oh, my goodness.
But
right.
My first console that I ever owned, I got, I want to say probably 1992 Christmas. I got a Super NES under the Christmas tree. Or it wasn't even under the Christmas tree. It was, they pulled a Christmas Story on me where they hid it behind the couch. So after I finished opening all my presents, they're like, oh, wait, there's another present back here. Yeah, so they did one of those. And it came with Super Mario World. And I guess my dad got a tank game for him. And we played both of those games a lot. I played a lot with my dad in early 90s. And that was always kind of like a thing. I actually wrote a thing about that on GameInformer.com about how he helped me get into gaming, and then he kind of fell off after the Super NES era because like the N64 controller was intimidating to somebody who wasn't really super interested into it. But so he fell off with that. And then he actually wanted a VR system when that all started happening. And he's like, well, which system should I get? Should I get Oculus? Should I get Vive? Should I get PlayStation? I said, get the PlayStation, because in my head I was thinking, which system is going to make me have to play tech support the least? And I was like, oh, well, definitely the PlayStation one. Having to deal with like the PC tech on top of a VR headset,
right?
Definitely the PSVR. So he got a PlayStation 4, and then he started playing other games, and I was like, because it came with Uncharted 4, so he was playing like the intro of that over and over again. And then I got him Overwatch for Christmas one year, and we played that a couple of times together. And then I got him God of War another time, like the latest one, and so he made it probably a third of the way through that. Actually, he was enjoying it, and then he kind of got busy with work and before he retired. And now they just moved, so they've been super busy for the past year. And that's a total tangent off there. But yeah, if you want to read more about that, it's on GameInformer.com. But so Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario Kart, those are the games that really like made me a gamer. And I'm known for my love of the Sonic series, and the way that came about was I had the Super NES. That was my first console I ever owned. I was like just loving it, playing it all the time, pretty much every day after I got home from school. And then my dad got a job in Florida. I was living in Maryland at the time. My dad got a job in Florida, and we had to move for 6 months. They put their house on the market, and it sold way sooner than we thought. So we had to move in with my grandparents for like 3 months before his job in Florida started up. So we moved to my grandparents' house for 3 months, and they packed my SNES like in the very back corner by accident. And they were like, well, we made him move like 35 minutes away from all of his friends, and we packed away his video game system. So I guess we need to buy him like a new video game system to like make it up to him, because he doesn't live in the neighborhood anymore with his friends. He doesn't have a video game to play. So they took me to a BJ's Wholesale, I think it was, and I got a Sega Genesis with Sonic 2 and Echo the Dolphin was the bundle.
Oh, Echo the Dolphin.
And played the crap out of those. Then I got Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and went back and got Sonic 1. And yeah, I was just absolutely in love with that series. And that was the start of my Sonic love, and then it just kind of went from there. And then as far as like what made me want to review video games, in 2007 I started a music website. So that's where I got my start in like kind of just writing about entertainment. I was in college. I was an RA in college, so I had a lot of downtime where I was just had to sit in an office for a while for like hours on end. So I started like listening to music and writing reviews and then like interviewing musicians over MySpace. It was crazy. I was just doing that MySpace. Like, yeah. So I started that with a friend, and my senior year, Circuit City was going out of business, and I went to Circuit City and I saw Fallout 3, and I was hearing nothing but amazing things about it. And it was the collector's edition. I still have the lunchbox that it came in, the Vault Boy lunchbox. And I played that to death, and I loved it so much. I was like, I want to like write a review for this. Like, so I just like in the off-topic section of our forums, I wrote a review of Fallout 3, and that was the first game that made me want to write a review because I loved it so much, and I wanted to like dissect it and everything. So, and then that kind of evolved into, all right, I'm still writing about music, and then I got a freelance thing writing about music video games because that was right at the peak of like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. And then from there, I joined a small video game site as just kind of a writer, and then that evolved into me co-founding a video game site with another friend, and that ran that for 4 years, and then started doing freelance for IGN, Kotaku, official Xbox magazine, Games Radar, Joystick, all those things, and then joined Game Informer eventually. So that's the abridged version of my journey in this industry.
That's pretty awesome, dude.
There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Over not a long time period.
No,
I mean, you said 2007.
2007 is when I started writing about like anything in general. Like
music.
It's funny because I hated writing and I hated running growing up, and now I do both almost every day. So it's like 2004 Brian would totally be like, what? Like that's your entire life is writing and running basically. So
I do.
I mean, I hated writing because the thing is like I hated writing because I was writing about things that like my teachers wanted me to write about. I wasn't writing about like things I was actually interested in. Like I remember in fourth grade I had to do a biography on a person that it was like we had a set of biographies that we had to write. Like one of them was like a biography about somebody we know and respect. So I wrote about my grandfather. And then another one was a biography about a celebrity or somebody famous. And I wrote about Cal Ripken Jr., who, fittingly enough, today is the 25th anniversary of his 21-31 game where he broke Lou Gehrig's record. Nice. We're recording this on Sunday. So, so he, so I wrote that about, and I was like, wow, those were actually really fun to write. And then I was like, maybe I'd want to be like a sports reporter or something. That was like the first time I ever like entertained the idea. And then, I went to fifth grade and I started writing about like, Ronald Reagan and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't like this so much anymore. Maybe writing does suck. And then I think it's just all about the subject matter. If it's something that like you really love, then it's not so bad.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I've fallen off it a little bit because I've just been extremely busy, but I do write articles on our Patreon, and just I think one of the best articles that I wrote was we did our first episode of the podcast, our main show on Batman, the animated series. And I wrote about how like the Two-Face episode in that series, like the two-parter, is just amazing. And like the words just kind of flowed out of me just because I loved it so much. And just, you're totally right. The subject matter like makes you write. I mean, better is a word, but makes you write passionately about it for sure.
It's easier too. I mean, when I was on my way back from Tokyo this time last year, I remember I had a full day of audio recordings. Like they gave me so many people to interview. Like literally, it was from like first thing in the morning until we were at a late night dinner with the team out in
awesome.
Tokyo. Yeah, it was kind of cool. It was really fun. Like we went out with after we finished this full exhausting day, we went out to dinner with Junichi Masuda and Shigeru Omori, who, he was the composer of the original Pokemon games, and he's been the director, I think, from Ruby Sapphire all the way up to I guess Sun and Moon was the first one he didn't direct. Maybe XY he didn't direct. And then Omori was the director of Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, I believe. So we went to dinner with them, and that was really cool. They're great guys, and just kind of we need to unwind from this long day where we're just like, they were under the spotlight basically the entire day, and then I was like having to me and our former video producer Ben Hansen were running interviews the entire time. So it was a very long day. So we definitely needed some refueling. But I remember the plane ride home. I was so exhausted, but I was like, I'm gonna have to turn this story around really fast. So I transcribed the entire flight home. I transcribed the entire next day, and then I wrote the entire cover story in a single Sunday. So it just flowed out because like I love the Pokemon series so much, and I really it was such a not easy story to write, but it was such like a almost effortless story to write because I one, it was fresh in my mind, and two, it was something that I was so excited about that even though I was completely jet lagged and slept like 3 hours the night before, I wrote it and I was like, well, this is either garbage or it's going to need like no edits whatsoever. I can't tell yet though, because I am delirious from lack of sleep, and somehow it was, minimal edits. So I was happy about that one.
I bet, yeah.
Well, if it's any consolation, I really liked that article. So I'm nobody.
Thank you.
So
that means a lot. I really love it. Like I love hearing that anybody even reads my stuff, let alone enjoys it. So that means a lot. Thank you.
I really like your writing. I've been following you in the Game Informer for a long time. So I remember getting the magazines as a kid. You weren't there obviously yet, but I've just been following. I check video game news every single day, and I go from my IGN app to GameInformer.com and just like read your guys' articles all over the place. So you never answered what is your favorite video game of all time?
Oh, so for probably, for 19 years it was Ocarina of Time. The only challenger to that throne, I would say, was Final Fantasy X, and it was like really like a toss-up of whether I liked Ocarina of Time or Final Fantasy X more. And then in 2014, I replayed the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time, and I was like, yep, that playthrough sealed it. That's definitely my favorite game of all time. But then Breath of the Wild dethroned it.
Oh, no. Why?
I think that Breath of the Wild gave me the same sense of wonder that Ocarina of Time gave me the first time I played it, where, you never knew what was around the next corner. The first time running out into the field of Ocarina of Time, it just felt like that world was endless, and there could be, you never knew what was going to happen when you went out into that field.
When you head out of Cookery Forest. Oh.
Yeah. That first step out there, it was like, oh my God, how is this possible? And like there was just endless wonder, and that's what Breath of the Wild gave me, and that's why I loved it so much. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, well, it's my favorite game of all time, therefore it's flawless. I acknowledge there are things I don't like about it, but I think that because it gave me that childlike sense of like just joy and wonder around every single turn, that's what stuck with me.
They did a really good job of delivering that in how they did the, cinematography in a game, but the way they presented that on both of them, and Ocarina of Time, as you head out through the hole in the tree, the hollow tree, they give you this huge sweeping, view of this is the land. And they did the same thing in Breath of the Wild, and it worked so well. Ocarina of Time is hands down my favorite. It's the most time I've spent in video gaming. It's the most things that I've poured myself into. So that one wins, and Majora's Mask might be second. Since Breath of the Wild has come out, I haven't finished it, but I've played through opening and unlocking every bit of the map twice now because I just want to explore. I don't really want to do anything in it. I just want to explore the land, and so that's what I've done. I've beaten 2 or 3 of the Divine Beasts, and then I kind of just didn't care about that part of the story so much as I did just enjoying finding every little facet of this open world that there was to explore.
Now, I will say that I agree with you. That's the best part of that game is exploring. And like, if instead of having a sequel, if they just put out like, all right, we're going to put out like a master quest where Hyrule is just completely different. We put in like new Easter eggs and stuff like that. Like, awesome. I would totally buy that instead of a sequel. I would buy this. I'm totally stoked for the sequel. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially with like the tease that like there might be 2 playable characters, or you can change between Link and Zelda. Like that's fun. This is just totally me over dissecting the trailer, and the fact that it looks like Ganondorf is the villain this time around, which looks amazing. I'm excited for that. And it looks like Hyrule is changing, so like I might get to have my cake and eat it too in this case.
Yeah.
But like I would just love that. But like I have to give our former editor and the guy who reviewed that game for us originally, Kyle Hilliard, I think the way he phrased it, or something along those, I'll paraphrase him because I don't want to misquote him, but he basically said that like by the time you reach the castle for like you're kind of doing the final approach for the showdown with Ganon, it feels like, because of like how you started and where you are now, it feels like almost like a lifetime of like accomplishment that's coming to a head almost. Mm-hmm. And I love
Is that like original Ocarina of Time he was talking about.
No,
what was that?
Or was that
Breath of the Wild?
Oh, Breath of the Wild. Okay.
Yeah, just because like it's been looming over you the entire time. It's like just like you see it off in the distance wherever you are, pretty much. Present. And you know, from the opening scene of the game, you see Calamity Ganon like storming around the castle, and it's amazing to like you could run up there and challenge him right off the bat, and you know speedrunners often do, but you know, you have to build up to that, and that's what's so cool about it, is like you can do it whenever you want, but it's really a test about like when are you ready to do it, and that's what's so cool, is it's finally like it's like I'm finally ready, and like the music is so epic as you storm the castle, and then like I'm not a huge fan of the final boss battle, but the way it all wraps up and ends is really awesome.
I'm not a fan of the weapon
eventually.
System. That's why I haven't beaten it. I like
that makes sense.
Old,
I mean, I
like
understand.
my old Zeldas where you know you get the thing and you could use the thing and it never breaks. So
I totally see that perspective. I don't mind it so much. I wish that they were a little bit more durable, so it wasn't like a constant swapping out. But I understand that viewpoint completely, and you know, I think that half of our editorial staff shares that viewpoint, so it's not even like a foreign concept to me that people would not like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Trust me, that was a very heated debate when we decided to give that Game of the Year. That was a very heated debate, because like there were people like me who were like, "Oh yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's Breath of the Wild for Game of the Year," and then other people were like, "I didn't even like Breath of the Wild. The weapons break and da 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 da." And it's like, yeah, I mean, I understand, I get it, but for me, that's a game that I think that I will always look back at with affection.
Yeah, I think it's a very...
the weapons breaking is just an extra level of challenge, which makes it even more fun.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Or
it makes it harder.
More
for sure.
Rage-inducing. All right. Brian, what advice would you give those who want to start reviewing games? What is your process behind reviewing?
You mean like in terms of how to get into the career, or how to actually write a review?
I would say how to actually write a review.
So for me, it's pretty simple. You know, I sit down, I play the game. I will usually keep a note running on my phone. Like anytime like there's like, oh, that's kind of weird. I should think more about that point. Or like, oh, that was a really memorable sequence. I'm going to write that down. So like when I'm calling out examples of stuff that I like, I can reference this. Or like, oh, that line is really interesting that guy said. So just keeping notes. I mean, some people do it on like a notepad, like a physical notepad, and I think that's kind of cool too. I've done that as well. Like I have this DC Comics notepad that I keep at my desk at all times for like interviews and stuff. Got that at Comic-Con in 2016. So I don't know. I just take notes, and then write an outline before you start writing, and then kind of make sure that you're hitting all the points, and then get cracking. I know it's different for everybody. Just like, paths into the industry are different for everybody. Some people just kind of start a small blog. Some people start by freelancing. Some people start in another industry and then leap over. Some people go to school for journalism. Some people don't. So there's a million ways to write a review. There's a million ways to get into the industry. But yeah, I think that just the general way to do it is, play the game, write notes as you go. And then, if there's ever something that I'm not sure about, I will, go back and start it back up and play through that part again in case I missed something. Or, yeah, I mean, that's basically it. And I always try to hit the embargo, like when the publisher who provides us the code says we can publish our reviews and talk about the game. But it's not always realistic. Like I'm always going to err on the side of doing a more thorough job than hitting a deadline or an embargo. I mean, obviously in a perfect world, I'd be able to do both. But like for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which I just published my review on Friday of last week, the reviews were actually able to go up on Thursday morning, I believe, and I just wasn't quite ready to do that. So I put it up the next day, and it was a much more thorough review as a result. And it's almost one of those like the Miyamoto quote. I forget what the quote is, but something about like, a delayed game is eventually good, but a bad game is bad forever or something. I've totally butchered that, but
that's all good.
I don't know any better. Sounded good to me.
You talk about embargoes, and I think it's interesting that, like, just nowadays, you can't review a full game until like the day one patch or like the day one, when it releases, so that you could play the online side of the things, to see how servers run and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. I'd be willing to bet. Do you guys hit the embargo every single time? Not every single time. No way.
No, not every single time. I mean, a lot of times, they'll set up like sessions, so like everybody who's received a review code can hop online and play together. Like, we'll get an email like, hey, this Thursday we're gonna have a multiplayer session from like 2 to 4. So like that way there's like the highest number of people online to play. But yeah, you're right. There are a lot of day one patches. There's servers that can sometimes struggle under the weight of all the players rushing on. I mean, we saw that with Fall Guys. Fall Guys, unbelievable game, but they had a rough launch weekend because there were so many people trying to play this game. Plus, it was free on PlayStation Network if you were a PS Plus subscriber.
I can't imagine they were ready for that amount.
No, and I mean they said it was the most downloaded PlayStation Plus game of all time now.
I believe it,
which is crazy. I mean, that's
I haven't played Fall Guys, but I have watched so much Fall Guys.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Like, I hope that all my watching, like, if I ever pick up the game, that I'd get a win at least faster than Tim the Tatman, or within the first 10 games.
It's not a hard challenge.
But yeah, we don't really hit the embargo every time. We try to, and especially for games that are single player focused and that like we get with plenty of lead time. Like, it all depends on the game. Like, if I got a shorter single player focused game a week ahead of time, I'd probably be able to finish it. Like if a new Mario game came out tomorrow and we got the code today, obviously I'm not going to be able to review it by then. But a new Mario game's coming out in 2 weeks and I get the code today, I'd probably have a good shot at finishing it and getting the review formulated before embargo lifts. We usually try our best to hit those, but like I said, like we're going to err on the side of putting out a better review, more thorough review, making sure we see all the content. And then online components will sometimes throw a thing in, like a wrench into the whole operation. So we do our best, but it's not always realistic. I mean, even when we do get long lead time, it's sometimes not long enough. Like earlier this year, I reviewed Persona 5 Royal, and
that's like a 200-hour game, right?
130 hours, I think, is what my save file ended up being. So even though I got it 3 weeks in advance, that's not entirely realistic. I mean, think about like 3 weeks, a full-time job. If you're working 40 hours a week, that's 120 hours. That's still not enough. Even if that was just my only responsibility at work, it would. And I was playing most days. Most days, my schedule was I was going into the office for our morning meeting. I would be there for the morning meeting, take care of anything I needed to do in the office, and then by lunch, I was heading home and playing Persona 5 Royal until probably midnight or 1 a.m. and then waking up the next morning and doing it all over again. So, and of course, this was
grinding it out.
My first 2 weeks were the last week of February and the first week of March. So I was neglecting all my social obligations, and then COVID hit, and then I was socially distancing and quarantining the 2 weeks before COVID hit. So I've actually been in quarantine 2 weeks longer than everybody else. But yeah, I totally should have gone on some more dates or hung out with friends more during that time. But yeah, I totally didn't hit embargo that time because that's just such a long game, and not all of it, but a lot of the added content is at the end of the game. So I had to play through the entire game again because like that's where the final palace is at the end. So did my best, but I did hit for our magazine deadline for that issue. So that was like the little win that I took. But I still beat it before the game came out. So that's what really matters to me anyway, is at least getting a review up for release day, even if we don't hit the embargo that's like a week ahead of time.
That's funny. The challenge is to beat the game before it's available to get the best review. Oh man.
I can't even imagine reviewing Persona, like, because I know some friends of mine and how many hours they've just spent in that, and like it's insane. I applaud you, my friend.
I mean, I'm glad. Like, I'm lucky in the sense that I adore that game. It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. But like the guy who reviewed Persona 5 originally, Joe Juba, who is our online content director, I believe that's his new role under like our new organization structure. He reviewed the original Persona 5, and he was reviewing Final Fantasy VII Remake at the time. They gave him a ton of lead time on that, so he was unable to do that. So he gave me Persona 5 Royal, which I was super thrilled about because I love that game so much. But still, like, I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's my next like 4 weeks. So I'm just gonna like push everything off to the side and focus on this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man.
Because I was the only other person who had beaten it on staff, like the original one. So like we needed somebody who had that frame of reference.
That experience, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, we got a fun one for you.
Sounds like a heavy task. Yeah. Next question. Mike and I, huge Ready Player One fans. One, I'm gonna do you like that? Have you read it? Have you seen it?
I haven't read it. I have seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an alright movie.
It's a fantastic book.
Yes.
Afterwards, maybe I can send you a copy and you can enjoy it. But as huge Ready Player One fans, do you see the future of gaming moving into that realm of possibly having a one place to jump in and then you can do whatever you want in there? So Ready Player One, for anyone who hasn't seen it, you log into an essentially VR world, and then you can do whatever you want inside this world. You can play any game that you want. You can do anything that you want, but you do it as your own virtual character, your own avatar. Do you see that being a possibility within the next decade?
No.
No.
One, we need to have we need to have. I mean, in the sense that that Ready Player One does it. First, we'd have to have everybody embrace virtual reality on a scale unlike anything that I think is going to happen in the next decade. Like, I think the tech is amazing. I think it's still nascent. I think it's still very much in its infancy. As great as it is, I mean, I have a PSVR. I love it. I play games on there every so often. The thing for me is I don't like under normal circumstances, when I come home from work, I want to sit on my couch and just kind of play a game. I don't want to strap a thing on my face, which I always feel more exhausted from a VR session. Like if I did VR for an hour and a half, I feel more exhausted than if I had been running for an hour and a half, which I never do. But like mentally, I'm just like spent at the end of like a long VR session because it's just so like intense. It's a sensory overload. The screen is like half an inch from your face. And I helped write our VR cover story. So like I was not early adopter, but I was like an early, I guess, evangelist of the tech. Like I think there's a lot of promise for it. I think that there could be amazing stuff done with it. We're just not quite there yet. And like, especially the public embracing it. Like, this was a nice first wave of like consumer VR tech, but I think that to have anything resembling what Ready Player One has, one, we would need just an astronomical leap in technology, and then two, we would need
that's fair enough.
An appropriate way to market that tech to people, because that's been a major leap that I had to talk to a lot of developers and marketers and like executives about, is like, how do you market this technology? Like, because the way that you show how cool VR is you show like the scale of something and how it feels when you're in VR, but that's really hard to do if the person who you're showing it is not in VR. So like if there's a TV commercial or a YouTube ad trying to show this guy, hey, here's how cool VR is, and they don't have a VR headset, it's like, oh wow, yeah, it's the same thing, but I'm like in the game instead. But it's so much cooler than that when you're actually in it. Like, and you look up and there's like like if you're playing Shadow of the Colossus in VR, which isn't an option, but if like say Shadow of the Colossus was in VR, being able to actually feel the scale of that, like looking up and seeing like the colossi in front of you, would be like unbelievable.
It'd
like
be amazing.
But there's no way to accurately or aptly describe that to somebody without actually showing them, which is the major challenge of marketing a VR headset. And I think people are starting to understand it more and more, but it's still like for the layperson, it's very challenging. And like, you know, that's a big hurdle. And two, I think that one, we would need to have all the platforms play nice with each other. We've seen it more and more over the past few years with like Xbox and Nintendo and PC. Microsoft is doing great stuff with a lot of cross-play and cross-platform stuff. Like, you know, we've seen some of their first-party stuff actually appear on Switch, which is amazing. And like all their first-party games appear on PC. But if there's going to be one spot that like everybody appears, that's going to be a hurdle. And like Sony has shown, like they're kind of taking the old school approach of like, you know, a walled garden. They're not making it so far. Like, you know, it seems like these games are just going to be PS4 only. They've are PS5 only when the system launches. I mean, they've started bringing some games over to PC, like Horizon Zero Dawn's on PC now, which is 100% a game that anybody who doesn't have a PS4 should check out now that it's on PC. Like that game is unbelievable. But if we're going to have one place to congregate, absolutely play Horizon Zero Dawn.
It's amazing.
One of the best games of the generation.
Well, so. I agree. I'm a huge sucker for bow and arrows, so that's like the Tomb Raider reboot is one of my favorite video games of all time. So.
Absolutely, it's great. But also we've also tried this a couple times. Most notably, I think with PlayStation Home, where people can just gather and like play games together and like be avatars. And people seemed to kind of hate it. So I don't know. I think the ideas have been tried
at the time, and
it would be nice if we could figure out something like that. But I think that like the execution hasn't been there quite yet on any front. So while I think that would be something that maybe is a possibility in the next 30 years, 10 years might be a little ambitious.
I played Half-Life Alyx the other day, and that's what prompted the question.
I still haven't played it. I really want to. I don't. It's not on any headset that I own, and I'm not going to go into the office just to throw on a Vive to play Half-Life Alyx.
It is the best one that I've played so far as feeling like you're there.
Oh, yeah?
Being fully immersed into it. And I played it for, I don't know, half hour to an hour, something like that. Got lost. I mean, I was just playing. At that point, I was ducking around corners and like peeking. They've done such a good job on it that as someone who's played VR and understands the grasp of it and how immersive it can be, I want for other people to experience it so that it can be a bigger thing, because it is so cool when you get into those games and you're playing to be able to, and I've played a lot of games, but some of the bow and arrow ones they have there, so Beat Saber, super fun.
Beat Saber's amazing.
But this one made me feel anxiety. One, because there's like the creatures that just scare the bejesus out of you and these things that drop down. But yeah, so this one, I would love to see that, and I would love people to get on board with it. I think the cost of it is also kind of preventing people from doing it, because you have to have a PC that can run VR, and then you have to buy the VR on top of it, unless you have a PSVR. But like my PC can run VR, but not well enough, and it's like a $600 PC, and then I'd have to spend another $500 on top of it. And if I want to do it well, I'm looking at $1,200 in upgrades. Yeah. Not with the 3000 series cards, but I'm looking at a huge step up just to be able to have a good experience in it.
Yeah, my PC's fine to run VR, but I was like, you know what? There's enough games on my PS4 that I could do. Like, I don't know. I love Beat Saber, and that's on PS4.
Yeah,
Iron Man fun. VR was on PS4, so I was like, all right, I'll just do that. Whatever, it's cheaper. I don't need the greatest experience ever, but yeah.
Yeah, I've played 2 games in VR. I've played the Gran Turismo one that came out for the PS4, which was nauseating. It was so bad for me. I thought I was going to puke. And then I played Super Hot, which was actually super fun.
I love Super Hot.
That game is so fun. It's so hard.
It's so hard. All right, Brian. Another fun one. You start a new run of the OG Pokemon. First of all, which one did you play? Blue or red or yellow?
I mean, I played all 3, but the first one I played was blue, because I got that with my Game Boy Color under the Christmas tree.
Okay, there you go. So, Jelly's a red fan, I guess.
I played red.
I mean, I got red after that, and then I got yellow when that came out.
Yeah.
Red's the starter. Come on, everyone knows it.
I started with blue personally, and then I don't think I played red and yellow until after silver.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah, I just stuck with the blue. But who is your OG starter? Who do you pick? And follow-up question to that: do you stick with the same type throughout each Pokemon?
I'm usually a fire guy when it comes to starters, but not exclusively. Like I went. Let's see, who did I go with? I did Poplio in Sun and Moon, so water type, and then shoot, I can't even think of the guy's name. I wrote the cover story, and I can't even think of the water type's name right now.
Sobble,
yeah. I kept thinking of Inteleon, which is what he evolves into. But yeah, Sobble. God, I'm an idiot. I even have a Sobble T-shirt. And a Sobble hat. So, total fake gamer guy over here. But yeah, I've kind of fluctuated. But with OG, I usually go Charmander.
Good. I think
but,
that's what
I've done runs with all three of them.
I'm a grass starter through and through.
I remember
every time.
I remember downloading an emulator and. You could hack into an emulator, so I did a playthrough with all three original starters, and I
did that through Game
super
Genie.
Fun. Yeah,
or was it Game Genie or Game Shark? Whatever one I had on Game Boy, you could
Game Shark.
You could have it so that it would whatever Pokemon you encountered would be the set Pokemon that you type in. So like I had it so like when I leave Pallet Town and I go to like have my first encounters with wild Pokemon, it was like, all right, whatever Pokemon I encounter is going to be Squirtle, and then the next one's going to be Bulbasaur. And I actually just built Ash's team from the anime, and I went through and played the game like that. So I had Pikachu, really Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Butterfree, and
Caterpie.
That's
Caterpie,
well,
right?
Butterfree is Caterpie.
Oh, yeah,
Caterpie evolves into Butterfree.
Goodness. I'm not even a Pokemon fan. I'm embarrassed.
Wait, Metapod was there, right?
Well, did he have a Pidgey?
Yeah, Pidgeotto. That was the sixth. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I got it to
awesome.
Pidgeotto, and I wouldn't let him evolve. Because once he evolved, I mean, in the episode where he evolved, and he would just he'd let him go free. And I was like, oh, well, he finally got Pidgeot, and now he let him free. Like, that was the most infuriating thing about the Pokemon anime, especially early on, was he didn't earn any of his badges. They were all, like, pity badges. Like, he would lose to the gym leader, and then, like, Team Rocket would try to burn down the gym, and they would stop Team Rocket, and they'd be like, oh, well, I guess you get this gym badge because you stopped those idiots from burning down our gym. And then every time he got a cool Pokemon, he would set it free or, like, give it to somebody else. And it's like, come on, you finally have a Charizard, and he had a Charizard for a while, and then like there was an episode where like Charizard finally sees like eye to eye with Ash, and it's like, all right, he's gonna behave and like listen to Ash, and then like an episode later he gives him away. It's like, come on, or like he set him free to like live on this Charizard island. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that throughout the early Pokemon seasons where it's like he finally something cool happens and he just like gives away the Pokemon. It's like it's infuriating. I understand the reason for it. Like, it's the same reason that they circle out Brock and Misty or cycle out Brock and Misty, because they want to get new characters in there and like highlight new Pokemon. But the gym badges always irritated me, where it's like he never beat the gym leaders. Like, he beat some of them, but like he rarely beat the gym leaders, and especially the Kanto anime. It was just like he always like helped them out, or he helped them learn a valuable life lesson or something, or about treating your Pokemon right. And you made my Raichu cry with joy, so here's a gym badge. Just super annoying. Sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine with that. Like, I love the anime. Like, I was obsessed with it as a kid, but yeah.
But come on.
Really
come on, make him earn it.
Badge.
All right, final question of the interview. Jelly, what you got?
Yep. Brian, people know you for your writing, but on Twitter and Instagram, you got all these food posts, these pictures of this delicious gourmet-looking food. What's up with that, bro?
So, I've always enjoyed cooking for like the past several years. But when quarantine hit, that was like one of the things I wanted to really get on point. Like I don't know, the past like 3 years, past 2 or 3 years in particular, I've really like started like experimenting more with cooking. I love making curries. I love making I have a great recipe for General Tso's chicken. Just different like steaks and stuff like that I enjoy making. But during quarantine, what I decided to do was branch out some. So I started doing HelloFresh. This is not a paid spot, by the way.
We are too small for that.
But yeah, I started doing HelloFresh, and it was it was fun. It's a little expensive, but and I just did my last box because I was like, you know what, I've branched out enough. I've started like I've learned a lot of new cooking techniques. I've learned a lot of new recipes.
You're gonna keep the recipe cards.
Yeah,
too.
I've kept all the recipe cards, so now I can go and buy the ingredients myself at the grocery store, which I did. I picked out a couple for this week, and I went to the grocery store over the weekend and bought some ingredients to replicate those without the HelloFresh box. But yeah, they have some really great recipes, and I've enjoyed like learning the new stuff, like learning how to do new things, and learning some new recipes and stuff I probably would not have tried on my own. Like I wouldn't seek out these recipes, so it was nice to branch out and try new things as well. And now I have those recipe cards, so I can just make them on my own. Hopefully, we'll see how it turns out. But I have high hopes. I'm going to try it for the first time this week, so we'll see how it goes.
Sure, you'll smash it.
Do you have natural artistic ability, or does your food always just look that good?
I try to be mindful of how I plate it. Like I'm not like great at plating it. Like I actually. There was one that was it turned out to be a disaster in terms of like how it looked, so I didn't even take a picture of it, but I just ate it for like the leftovers for lunch. It was like a Mexican chicken and rice bowl, and it was super good. Like it's one of the tastier ones that I made through HelloFresh, and
nice.
It just I could not make it look good in a bowl, so I was just like, the world doesn't need to see this one. But then the other day I made broccoli cheddar melt sandwiches, and that turned out pretty good, so I was pretty happy with that. So I did snap a picture of that. It's basically like broccoli cheddar soup, but on a sandwich instead of like in a bread bowl. It was so good, and I made hand cut sweet potato fries, so that was super good too.
So good.
So yeah, I don't know, just it was something that I enjoyed doing before quarantine, but then I live alone. I had nowhere else to go, and I was supporting
a lot of time on
I've had a lot of time on my hands, so like why not kind of dive headfirst into something I've enjoyed kind of in a passing manner or a passive manner, and kind of dive headfirst into that.
Yeah, every
awesome,
time
dude. It looks so good.
Every time you posted a picture, I'm like, hey, I'm only 3 hours away. I'll drive up and have some dinner with you because it looks so good.
Yeah, it was like that, and I built 2 gyms in my house. Those have been my 2 like major quarantine activities. Were
You built 2 gyms?
Yes,
because one's not enough?
So I converted the second bedroom into a gym, like a kind of like nice. I have 48 square feet of mat space. I have a bunch of resistance bands. I have some dumbbells. I have a bench that I can do like ab work on, and then out in my garage I built a boxing gym. So I have kind of like a heavy bag with a speed bag on the other side, and then I have a kickboxing bag that's kind of weighted down by water. So I have a hanging heavy bag, a standalone heavy bag, and then a speed bag, and then I also have an agility ladder, push-up handles, because every time I put my hands on the ground in my garage, they come up like completely black because it's so dirty out there, and then jump rope. So
there you go.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, so I was able to cancel my gym membership before I paid, a ton of money, not even being able to go to my gym because, they were closed for several months, and now it's pretty inconvenient to go now because you have to like schedule an appointment, and you have to, obviously wear a mask, which I think is a good thing, obviously, but I'd rather just work out in my garage and my second bedroom.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the mask thing, but like
it's right there all the time.
But like working out in a mask, that sounds horrendous.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough that like if I go outside my house, like I live in the suburbs, I don't live downtown Minneapolis, so I live in the suburbs, and I'm able to walk around, and like I can keep a good distance from everyone, so I don't have to worry about like if I go for a run. I live like on a parkway that has like a big like running path, and I normally would run down that, but because that's so crowded because everybody's out walking and stuff now, what I do is I run down the neighborhood street that goes parallel to that, so I avoid all the crowds when I do go out. and that's nice that I don't have to run with a mask, because like, even if I see somebody walking down the sidewalk towards me, I can cross the street and go to the other side.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm able to do that, and it's just I'm glad that I am able to do that and not have to worry about wearing a mask in that regard. But yeah, anytime I go anywhere where there's like other people, like I went to a park a few weeks back and I was totally rocking the mask, even though I was hiking all over the place. Anytime I go to the grocery store, I'm rocking the mask. So I actually bought a Team Rocket mask, which is pretty awesome. So I can wear that.
Oh, that's great.
Does it say we're blasting
mask
off again?
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, it's become like a fashion accessory now, right? Like you gotta.
Right? I need a good one. I really do.
I mean, it's nice because I bought it off Etsy, so I was able to support like a smaller artist.
There you go.
And the subtitle of it was "To Protect the World from Devastation," so it was perfect.
that is like so perfect. The Harry Potter. Yes.
Nice.
Billy is our.
I'm a bit of a nerd.
Stand-in Harry Potter nerd.
Expert. I'll take expert, actually.
Expert. That's true.
I don't know anyone who's read them as much as me. And I challenge anyone.
I'm sure there's somebody.
Over 50 apiece.
I'm sure there's somebody.
Wow. That's dedication.
Yeah, I'm a little obsessed.
Well, you listen to them
I also own the
audiobook
audiobooks and listen. Yeah. I listen to them at least twice a year.
Wow.
On audio. And then I read through them usually once a year, but sometimes more.
You're like me with the MCU.
Dude.
It's a good thing, right?
Oh, I just finished my fifth
Mm-hmm.
rewatch of the MCU, I think.
Fifth rewatch.
There we go. 23 films.
Yeah. I mean, well, this time, to be honest, I did skip Hulk this time around because I didn't feel like watching that. I was watching with a friend and she didn't want to watch it.
Service.
Is this we just
Edward
watched
Norton Hulk?
Yeah, Edward Norton Hulk.
Yeah. We just
That's the better one too.
No way.
just
I mean,
watched
all of
Black
them kind of
Panther.
suck.
Well, what's the Eric Bana was the other one?
Yeah, that one
Yeah,
sucks
let's-
even worse. But
we don't
but
talk
Edward
about
Norton
that.
Hulk. I mean, that's the one that's in the MCU, the Edward Norton one. But
Yeah.
I would say that's easily the worst MCU movie.
Yeah.
I
don't think you can argue with
I
the
can
one.
argue that it's underrated. But
Thor
yeah,
2
it's-
might be worse,
it's not,
actually.
It's not like tops on the list in MCU.
The Dark World.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Dark World. Thor 2 Dark World is near the bottom of my list as well. And before the past rewatch, I would say it was in contention for my least favorite, but I actually really enjoyed it this time around,
Yeah.
and I don't know why. But I had a good time with it. I think it's just because like
All right.
there was so much going on and so much like lore to pick up on. The first few times I just felt completely lost in some sequences, and like it just felt like so out there when compared to the rest of the MCU. But now that like I kind of have a grasp on it, there are still some parts that I'm like, all right, just get through this part already. But I don't know, I like it overall. I think now, like,
All right.
I don't know. I need to update my rankings. I that's a thing I also have on my notes app on my phone is just a ton of rankings of different things. Like I have like my favorite games of the year. I just have a running list of that. Like I have my top 10 already
Nice.
plotted out, and then I add to it and subtract as I play more games. Interested to see where Avengers falls on this one. Like I'm only a couple hours in on that so far, but I'm enjoying it. So Ghost of Tsushima is another one.
That's a good
Yeah.
transition there, Brian. Why don't we start talking about what we have been playing? So you've been playing Avengers?
Yeah, so I did Tony Hawk, played through that on PlayStation 4. That was the Office copy that I was playing. But now my my personal copy of the game is on Xbox One, so I have to start all over and play that.
Nice.
So I'm going to do my progress
Good
all
choice.
over again. So I'm going to play that some more. But my main game right now is Avengers. I'm also playing Ghost of Tsushima, which I am absolutely adoring. It's a gorgeous game, one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. The world is just stunning. And that's a big task coming off The Last of Us Part 2. Like I went straight from The Last of Us Part 2 to Ghost of Tsushima, and like they're beautiful for different reasons. Like The Last of Us Part 2 just has insanely detailed character models and just technically unbelievable. But the world of Ghost of Tsushima, like the fields of flowers, the way the sun looks in the sky, the trees, the way the wind interacts with the environment just is unrivaled. And also like the mission structure is so right up my alley, where it's like almost like that old school Assassin's Creed style, where it's like, all right, here's an icon, I can go do that, and it scratches that itch so well, and it reminds me of like the samurai Assassin's Creed game people have been wanting since like the late 2000s, and it's all I want now is it's just more of this game. But I'm taking a break to play Avengers so I can talk more about that, and then I'm going to go back to Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm excited for. I'm excited to go back to that. But Avengers, I think I can get through it and then go back to Ghost of Tsushima. And then, yeah, really that's it. I mean, I'm playing an occasional Fall Guys match every so often, but what else am I just bought Gran Turismo Sport because it's on sale on PlayStation Network right now. And it was like the enhanced version that gave you like the year 2 upgrade, and it's like $15. And I've been wanting to play that game for a while because I've heard they've made so many meaningful upgrades to it. And I loved when I bought my PlayStation 2, I got it with Gran Turismo 3 and Tekken Tag Tournament. And
yeah,
mm-hmm. I think it actually came with Gran Turismo 3, just at the bundle that I bought. And then I was like, well, I don't really like car games. I like Mario Kart on SNES, but like, other than that, I've never really liked car games. And then I remember just losing my entire summer to Gran Turismo 3, and it like pushed me into like a car obsession for like 2 years. Like I was just, I just wanted to learn as much about cars as I could, like different models of cars from different years, and that's kind of faded in the years since. But like it's, I don't know. I would love to recapture that. I didn't really like Gran Turismo 4 or 5, so it would be cool if GT Sport got me back into that series in some meaningful way. I'm more of a Forza Horizon guy lately, but
Forza Horizon's so good.
It's amazing. I think I like 3 more than 4. Like I think the Outback is more fun to cruise around in than the UK.
I agree.
But overall, like I love the Horizon series. I would like to see Project Gotham Racing come back personally, if we're talking racing games and racing franchises. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But back to games I'm actually playing right now.
I have a copy of Need for Speed Most Wanted over here.
Oh, nice.
Just got this. That was my series growing up, the old Need for Speeds.
I love Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, and I loved Need for Speed Underground. Those are the 2 that I really latched on to.
Yeah, for sure. So you've been playing Ghost of Tsushima? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick. Did you ever play Gran Turismo on PlayStation?
Not the original.
The original?
No, I never played the original Gran Turismos.
Bro, it was like a 2 or 3 disc set.
Yeah.
And that's all I've been thinking about this whole time since you said it. And I'm thinking like, did they, because I didn't play it after that. I never played a Gran Turismo. Did they ever make it to 1 disc?
Yeah, I think Gran Turismo 3 was 1 disc.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah, right on the PS2.
Because is that awesome DVD for PlayStation 2 technology that they could harness.
Hold a little bit more, a little bit more on the disc.
Yeah, it's like how like it was. I think Gran Theft Auto 5 was multiple discs on like 360, right? But then it was 1 disc on Xbox One, I think.
Yeah, it was 2. I think the second disc though was just its online component.
Oh,
right?
okay.
If I'm remembering correctly.
I'm one of those fools who have bought it multiple times now. I think I have it on Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PS4. Which is also how I operate with Final Fantasy X, where I own it 2 times on PS2, 1 time on PS3, 1 time on Vita, 1 time on PS4, and on Switch. So I own Final Fantasy X, all those.
Final Fantasy X, the one with Blitzball?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I love that one.
Yeah, that's my second or third favorite game of all time now. So I love that game.
I made the mistake of right before the final boss battle. You hit that save point where you're stuck in, and I had to replay the entire game.
Oh no!
Because I went in there without the stuff I needed.
Well, you can fast travel. You can fast travel from any save point.
Nope, couldn't do that. Don't know why, but I was locked into a just reloading of that final boss battle repeatedly, so I had to start over, and it was so infuriating. I tried for weeks to get through with what I had, the heals I had, the stuff I had, and I couldn't do it. I tried forever, and then finally I just gave up, and I was like, I have to start.
That's what happened to me with Lost Odyssey. If you ever played Lost Odyssey on Xbox 360, I loved it. I got to the final disc. That was another multi-disc game. Got to the final disc, and there was a sequence where like you're in like a submarine for some reason, and like you have to like navigate the submarine, and you get to this island. It's like a 5 to 10 minute sequence where you're piloting the submarine, and you get to this island, and I guess I was under leveled because as soon as I get on the island, I'm immediately killed by whatever I encounter first, and there's no save point, so you have to do the submarine sequence all over again every time. And I was just like, all right, well, I guess that I just can't beat this part. I can't go back to the last disc. I guess I'm just done playing this game because I'm not going to do this 5 to 10 minute sequence every time just to get killed by the first thing I encounter. And I mean, if it was just like restarted me to the beginning of the encounter, maybe I could like, use my crafty RPG skills to get through that encounter and like find the next save point and then start grinding from there. But because I had to do that long sequence before that, I was just like, all right, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I tried like 4 or 5 times, and I was just like, I give up.
I can
relate.
I tried Dark Souls. I tried Dark Souls once, and it's just not my game. I've just decided it's not my genre.
I've done that as well. I like Bloodborne, but the rest of that genre I just can't get into.
I remember just starting up Dark Souls, and I went to an area where I just kept on getting killed, and I'm like, oh,
that's the entire game.
Well, yeah, but it was because I was in the wrong area. Like I just went the completely wrong way, and I just was not leveled up enough. And I'm like, okay, like even if I'm in the wrong area, I'm just done. This combat is not my style. I'm more of a God of War, like Devil May Cry action, game.
Yeah. I think that
Devil May Cry.
When I was using Game Genie or Game Shark, I think it was Game Shark on Game Boy Color that I had, and I was doing it with Pokemon Red and Blue, and basically I was just trying to break that game as many ways as I could while I was playing it. And I was building my dream team. Like I had at another playthrough, I had all the legendary birds from Pallet Town, and also Mewtwo and Mew, and
there you go.
So that was like my team, just rocking all the legendaries right from the start. But then there was one where it was like you could use cut without having the badge that you need for cut, and then you could make it so you had any item in your inventory. So I gave myself the HM for cut, and I just started going to like places I totally shouldn't be able to go with like level 5 Pokemon. So I had like a team of like level 5 legendary Pokemon. I'm like suddenly going up against like level 42 Pokemon because I just ended up going places that like you shouldn't be able to go because of the Game Shark. And yeah,
that's awesome.
That was a bad idea.
Total random.
Just to clarify, total bad
question.
Idea.
Getting whited out left and right.
Total random question. Have you, since you're such a big Pokemon fan, have you done the Nuzlocke stuff that is pretty popular now? Like it's a randomizer. They're called randomizer Nuzlocke.
Oh no, I haven't done that.
No, okay. Yeah.
No. I usually just play it straight through nowadays.
I was watching somebody stream it, and they were doing a Nuzlocke on like Emerald or something. And they just had a random Articuno show up, and it was like level 25. Huh. And then the next Pokemon they run into is a random 13 level Zapdos. It's just like, wow. This is just not Pokemon to me. Like, it's just so weird.
They don't just appear in the wild like that?
No. Any other games you've been playing, Brian?
Trying to think. I mean, I downloaded Crusader Kings 3 onto my PC, but I am intimidated, so I haven't started that yet because I hear stories about how people are losing 1,000 hours to that series, and I don't really. I mean, but like it got a 10 out of 10 on IGN. It got like 10 out of 10 on like other like really reputable outlets. So I want to give it a try because like that. It
went straight into Game Pass too, right?
Mm-hmm. It did. So like that's why I downloaded it. I have Game Pass Ultimate, so I was able to download that. It sounds awesome. Basically the way I've heard it is like you can almost like it's almost like a medieval like or not medieval, but like like running like a Game of Thrones simulator. Like you can run your country like a Game of Thrones dictator. It's awesome. But yeah, I'm interested to check that out. And then what else have I been playing? I'm trying to think of like I'm always kind of dabbling in Overwatch. Like I have over 1,000 hours at that point. Yeah, well, Tony Hawk is a given at this point. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's really it. I mean, Avengers, Ghost of Tsushima, Fall Guys every once in a while, Tony Hawk, and an occasional Overwatch.
Go.
Nice.
All right, Jelly, what have you been playing?
Dude, I'm always playing the same thing. It's Apex. Apex yesterday, Apex today, Apex tomorrow. It'll be Apex in a week too. I love it. It's FPS, and that's where I'm at. I don't have the time to sink into to RPGs like I want. I got 2 kids and a wife, so for me, I can get on for 15 minutes, play a round. I get on for 2 hours and play 10 rounds, but I can quit whenever I want. And if I have to do something, break away, that's an option in that game. I'm not competitive, so it's just it's the perfect game for me to be able to put down, walk away, and come right back to.
Yeah, those are awesome. I love those types of games. Like, I mean, I think that's why games like Fortnite are so popular. Is like they give you the experience that you want. You can either jump in and play for, like you said, 15 minutes, or you could jump in and play for hours on end. I mean, that's why battle royales are so accessible and so widely reaching in terms of like their appeal. Is people can just play for as long as they want, really, and there's always that sense of progress because it's if done right, like Apex and like Fortnite, they dole out rewards in a well-paced manner. Also, one that I forgot to mention that I am playing is Raji, an Ancient Epic, which is an indie game that you may have seen on that Nintendo Indies or Nintendo Indie World.
I heard you guys talking about it on the GI show.
Yeah, it was one of those games where I saw it on the Nintendo Indie World stream, and I was like, oh, that looks really cool. And then I downloaded it to my Switch, and it's a lot of fun. I haven't made too much progress since I've been focusing so much on Tony Hawk, but for review and all free time that I've had. But when I do play it, like, smooth combat, a lot of cool, like, moves that you can do, like, it bases it, like, your powers and stuff around Hindu mythology and lore, so that's really cool. It's really unique in that regard. So it's kind of like an isometric action game. It's like the camera's pulled real far back, but like you can do like parkour and like run up walls and like jump off them and do backflips over the enemies and stuff. So really neat stuff.
Mike, that's your Prince of Persia.
Yeah, it almost does have like an isometric like Prince of Persia feel to it.
Up my alley, that's for sure. I've been playing, like I said earlier, a game called Drake Hollow. It was announced, I'm pretty sure, at that Nintendo Indies, but then it went straight into Game Pass, actually.
That's been around for a little bit. Like they had an announcement, I think, E3 last year.
Gotcha. I'm not sure. It went into Game Pass, and I was like, okay, this looks like up my alley. So basically, it's like it's kind of like State of Decay, where you're building kind of a community, growing resources in order to have the drakes, which are these like plant-based organisms that give you power-ups, but you're basically building a community for them and trying to make them survive away from what the threat is. I forget what it's called, but and you yourself have right now I only have a stick as my weapon, but I'm sure I'll get something else, and then I'm sure there's a magic component to it a little bit later on. But been diving into that a little bit. Jelly's my Apex partner, so I've been playing Apex with him too.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Respawn for changing the Evo shields. I think that was a good move with their recent update.
Fixing their TTK.
Yeah, the time to kill was just getting way too fast. I am a huge card game player, so I dove into Magic the Gathering Arena. I streamed it the other night for my streaming channel, and man, that's a lot of fun. Like it's just laid back, chill, relaxing. I love card games, and best part about it is it's free, and you could play one of the best card games ever, and it's completely free.
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast is awesome.
Yeah,
for making that free and available to play online.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And then I'm with you, Brian. Been playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater like crazy. It hits all the nostalgia, like the feels. I remember booting up the demo and to have the exact song in the
the intro video
screen and the intro video in the montage. It was just just a wave of nostalgia. I don't know. I forget.
Well, the video in the intro video in this version is Guerrilla Radio by Rage.
Yes, Guerrilla Radio.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just floored by nostalgia, the demo, and then now having the full game in my hands, like I'm so impressed at Vicarious Visions and their updates to it. You know, just having more challenges. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean I was only like 7 or 8 when the first one came out. So were there stat bonuses that you would collect and then add to your skater? Because I don't remember that.
I think that was introduced in 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So they did bring some of the elements from the later games back, and then like also they added the online stuff, which is awesome. Being able to share your skate parks online is amazing.
I think
like
that's
when you created skate parks.
I think that's the coolest feature, really.
It gives you kind of like a Mario Maker type of
exactly.
vibe, where you can you can create either like straight up skate parks meant to be enjoyed like in the traditional manner, or you can do with what several of the developers did, which if you go on, I don't know if they're still at the top of the community tab now, but like pre-launch, the most interesting one was one that was basically a roller coaster where you just hold the grind button down and you just skip across all like 185 rails, but you're skipping across them so fast it's carrying you up a hill, it's taking you down a hill, it's taking you around like twists.
Oh my goodness.
And you're skipping so fast that you don't have to worry about your balance, because like, you know, it's just resetting the balance every time you hit. So you're and
that sounds fun.
That was like one of the best. It just, if you want to look it up, it's on both PS4 and Xbox One. It's called Roller Coast, 2 words.
Roller Coast. Okay. I'm going to have to
and
try
it tells
that
you
out.
like just hold the grind button down the entire time, just hit the first rail and you're off, basically. It's really cool. It also gives you a couple of achievements for doing that, because like it hits you like a 185 trick combo.
Oh my goodness.
Dang.
So it hits you with a few achievements.
I do totally agree with your review. I'm in Tony Hawk just 1 right now, and I could not find the 5 bells to wall grind in the school. I could not find it, and like the updated graphics, like something, you're totally right, like you just can't see some of it because of the shadows and everything, where I don't know if they did an update, but like I see was it like it where they had lights above it, and so I figured out that they had lights above it, and I'm like, okay, now I could kind of try to find them. But it was tough. It took me a while.
I think the response to my review has been overall positive. People are excited about this game. That's the one thing people have challenged me on, is that like, oh, I can see it just fine. I'm like, all right, I couldn't. Like there,
couldn't.
And like I could most of the time. And it's not like the biggest challenge in the world to see these things, but like it doesn't stick out as much as it did in the original, because the original, it was just like, you know, a solid surface, and then suddenly there's a bell, so it just like stuck out really, really well. But now, you know, the surface is much more detailed. There's a lot more going on in the environment. Like if you go watch like the comparison videos between like what the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater looked like versus this, like there's just so much more going on in the environment. I'm not saying it's impossible to spot them. I'm saying that it's just slightly more difficult.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree, but overall, I'm just having so much fun with it. My kid's loving watching it being played. He's like so thrilled. It's
so
a
much
blast.
fun.
It is. I mean, I grew up playing these like crazy. I am really hoping. Who knows if it will happen, but I am really hoping that Spider-Man is still in the game. Like some of the unlockable characters would be pretty fun.
I mean, I can tell you if he is or not.
Oh.
Spoiler here. Do we want it?
Are we allowed to say?
Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, Spider-Man is not in the game.
Oh, dang it. Man.
Well, that's mostly because Activision doesn't make the Spider-Man game anymore.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
So,
rats.
Gotcha.
I can tell you the unlockable characters if you want, but only one of them is really fun, I would say.
Is Officer Dick still in?
Officer Dick is in it.
Okay, cool.
That's the fun part. I can tell you the fun part if you want.
Sure, go ahead. Why not?
He's played by Jack Black.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So there are 2 other like non-licensed skaters, and it's like the Roswell alien and then a skeleton. So it's not like as cool as Spider-Man, but
hey, Jack Black's cool.
Jack Black's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he makes up for it.
I ran into him at E3 2018, I think. I didn't like say hi to him because he was like in a conversation with somebody, but like it was just, like I always have like a random celebrity encounter at every E3, and that was my random celebrity encounter for that E3.
It was
either 2018
one
or
of those
2019.
Just like screams at him like, you're Jack Black.
I was just like, that's Jack Black, cool.
Oh man.
One time it was Vern Troyer, which was interesting. One time it was Andrew WK. Then let's see, Patrick Fugit, who was the star of Almost Famous.
Oh, right. Nice.
I got to see Ghost Recon Wildlands with him, and as an added bonus, I was also hanging out with Tom Clancy, not Tom Clancy the author, but Tom Clancy the son of the author.
Oh, wow.
So we saw the Tom Clancy game. I'm friends with Tom. He's an awesome guy. So I met up with him. I was texting him. I was like, "Hey, like I'm on the E3 show floor. You want to go see something?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm actually about to see like the new Tom Clancy Ghost Recon Wildlands." I'm like, "All right, I'll meet you there in a second." So we got in, and
that's really cool.
He was like, "I think that's Patrick Fugit," and I'm like, "What?" I was like, I don't know. And he's like, "I'm gonna ask him," and I was like, "All right." And he asked him. I'm like, "Oh my god, I love Almost Famous." So like, so he was a super cool guy. And I got to play Destiny 2 before it came out with Ansel Elgort, the actor.
Yeah.
The star of Baby Driver.
Okay, there we go. Okay,
you would recognize. Yeah, you recognize me, Sam.
Yeah.
He was in The Fault in Our Stars, right?
Yes.
And the Divergent series, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's the brother.
Yeah.
And
now it's ringing a bell. Well, awesome. Crazy stories from Brian Shea.
So cool.
All right. Well, Brian, I know you have until about like 3:30. So why don't you just skip down to the Mario announcement? Let's talk really quickly about that. Mario, if you guys don't know, listening, Mario 35th anniversary announcements just happened this past week, and I think we got some really cool things out of that. One of which being what was heavily rumored pretty much all year was the 3D All Stars, and. I can get into it, but I'm really surprised Galaxy 2 is not in the bundle. That's a little weird to me.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It's
a big bummer.
It's definitely the better of the two Galaxy games, in my opinion. But I think there was just some really cool announcements. Jelly, did you end up watching the video?
No, because I am not a Mario guy like you. For me, Mario ended at Duck Hunt.
Boo.
And then came back again with Mario Kart, and that's it for me.
Okay,
that's my Mario.
Are you one of those guys who's like, Star Wars? The last Star Wars movie we got was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, it was great. It was so good. I've got the box set VHS.
So then, Brian, probably, I guess the 3D All Stars was probably the most anticipated. But what kind of surprised you? What was the most surprising announcement for you?
The 3D All Stars wasn't really a big surprise because, like you said, it's been rumored for so long. Not having Galaxy 2 was also rumored, I believe, which is a bummer that ended up being true. Also, Super Mario 3D World, I want to give a shout out to that. That's coming separate from these three games.
Yeah.
One of the best Wii U games, for sure. One of my favorite Wii U games. One of my favorite Mario games overall. I would say it's in my... I just put out my updated rankings of all the Mario games on GameInformer.com. I think that because our original order was determined by the staff as a whole, it was lower than I would put it, but it's probably in my top 6 or 7 Mario games overall. Like, I love Mario 3D World, especially if you have a good co-op partner. So I'm excited that that's coming to Switch with apparently new content. And then there's also Mario 35 looks kind of cool. That's a battle royale, almost like Tetris 99, but with Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that Super Mario All-Stars, the original SNES release, is now on Nintendo Switch Online because that is really a game cool. that I feel like that's the first like mainstream like compilation that you could have where it was like, all right, we're putting the original Mario games, Mario 1, 2, 3, and Lost Levels, all on one cartridge with new graphics. That was incredible to me. That like, it basically uniformed them all to like the Super Mario World graphics, which was super awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And
I'm
glad that's on Switch.
Yeah, I remember having that cartridge myself growing up, and it was.
I still have it.
it's probably, like you said, it's probably one of the best compilation cartridges of all time, games of all time. So I totally agree. The most fascinating one to me was the Mario Kart reveal, the Mario Kart Live or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. Like, I'm excited to potentially get it with with my kids growing up here, and just having an actual RC cart and a video feed from that RC cart going to my Switch and playing on my living room floor. Like, I think that was so cool, and I love Nintendo's innovation and their ability to push boundaries and like just really change the way we kind of look at video games in general. I love that announcement.
Yeah, that was a really cool one. I don't know that I will be the target audience for that because I don't have like kids or anything. I do have a big open living room that I could use for it though, so that's a positive. So maybe I could do that. But yeah, I mean I love Nintendo's like spirit of wanting to try new things in like unconventional ways. Like, we saw it with Labo, we saw it with Amiibos, all kinds of stuff like that. They're hit or miss. Like, I don't feel like Labo is changed the landscape of the industry as we know it, but like it was a cool little experiment. People have a lot of cardboard boxes now, so it's at least they're recyclable if they want to get rid of them. But they, it was a cool idea. Yeah. And I think this seems more practical than what Labo was trying to accomplish, because this is like something that's like fun for the whole family. Like, just like you were talking about how your kids are watching you play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, they could watch you play Mario Kart, or they could even play with you. Or kids love remote control cars, but now in the context of it being a Mario Kart game, like that's even cooler.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I may wait. I don't know if it's a limited release, such like the some of the other stuff that was announced. But
I feel like it can't be, right? So the only limited release ones I think are Mario 3D All Stars and Super Mario 35. I think those are the only two that are like limited time only.
Yeah, I guess what's your thoughts on that limited time? I was taken aback by that, especially for 3D All Stars. Like, it does, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense.
Well, they did that kind of for Super Mario All Stars Anniversary Edition or whatever it was called for Wii. When they released those for Wii, they did like a collector's edition of Super Mario All Stars. It came with the game disc for Wii and then the soundtrack. And I actually bought two of them because they were $35 each. And I was like, you know what? I think it was for the 25th anniversary maybe that they did that.
Yeah.
And I bought two of them because I was like, I'm going to buy one to play and then one to sell, because like, way down the line when it's the collector's edition. Oh, you got the Wii right there. Yeah, so I don't even know where they are. They're packed away somewhere. But then they ended up doing a second run of that down the line because people were upset that it was a limited run only. So it did become much more accessible. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a bummer because I think that it would be nice to just let everybody play these games. And like, what happens if my family, like my parents, wanted to get a Switch and they get a Switch, a year from now? They don't have the option to buy these games that are widely regarded as three of the best Mario games.
Yeah, I can definitely understand like limiting the physical release, but to take it off the digital store is interesting.
Yeah, that's a weird strategy, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
I saw a theory. I forget who posted it on Twitter, but wondering if maybe that Nintendo is worried that people won't spend a lot of money this holiday given like the economic status.
Yeah.
And this might be like an encouragement for them to kind of pull the trigger now rather than waiting for, sometime down the line when things are improved. Which is also kind of my theory for why we maybe don't know a whole lot about the next generation of consoles, like the release date or the price of those, because, maybe now's not the best time to launch a $500 to $600 piece of hardware for people when, we have the levels of unemployment that we have right now. So
no, I hear you.
Who knows?
8.4.
I hear that.
Not that I know the stats on it. Yeah, but having the knowledge, I think, would be better than going in and saying, well, it's going to be a price, and just hope you can afford it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what we have right now. We also have a pretty obvious game of chicken going on right now, where neither of them want to announce it because they want to wait and see. Like, all right, well, there's the rumors of Xbox having two different consoles, the Series X and the Series S, which would be a less powerful version if the rumors are to be believed. And then PlayStation's already said there are two different models, having one with a disc and one without. And obviously, the prevailing notion is that the one without the disk drive would be cheaper. So it would probably fall in line with, all right, well, let's, the Xbox Series X hypothetically being $500 and the Xbox Series S being $350, for example. That makes them pretty affordable. But, Sony could be like, all right, well, let's make the PlayStation 5 $500 and then the discless version $300. And they would be able to undercut all those Series S sales, which I don't think is going to happen. I think the PlayStation is probably going to be more expensive. It seems like they're kind of going for that premium price tag or premium feeling of that console in general. So that's just my theory, completely not insider information or anything, but that's kind of my thought.
You don't have the scoop? You work for Game Informer.
Unfortunately, I don't have the scoop on this one. They're playing it pretty close to the chest here.
I agree with
companies.
You. Yeah, I agree
with
you.
But if the words to be revealed, I think we're
undercut. So
yeah, if we're the words, I think Microsoft even put it out that we're supposed to get another info drop on the Xbox next gen plans this month sometime. I believe. Originally they said that.
I think they said we're going to be in the Tokyo Game Show, right? They were going to be there.
Okay.
I don't. But they said.
No, they said there's not going to be any Xbox Series X
stuff.
on that.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But I thought they were going to do another inside Xbox stream or something like that.
That'd be cool.
But we'll see. I mean, that was the rumor, at least. I think some journalists have reported that it would be mid to late September. We would hear about the second Xbox and maybe finally get some concrete release information. But
yeah, right.
Who knows? Who knows at this point? I tweeted this at one point, but I was like, this has been the most annoying lead up to console launches in the history of the industry, because we keep getting the same information shared over and over again. Like, hey, did you know that the Xbox Series X has an SSD? Do you know that PlayStation 5, these developers are saying this is a great place to develop? It's like, oh my God, we know.
Yeah, we get it. It's the same thing you said the last 4 times. Can you tell me when it will be out and how much it'll cost?
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in.
We're leaving out some vital information.
It's a square.
Yeah,
it's this giant cuboid rectangle.
My biggest thing, cool. I think we should know the price by now, man. I like you said, Brian, and Jelly too. You said we have that rate of unemployment. If people want to upgrade, they need to know how much they need a budget for, and I think it's crazy why we don't know the price by now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you have 2 months to get a budget together. $500. Figure it out. Or $600, or maybe $400. We don't know.
All right, so
I would say budget for $600 if you're going to do it, because even if it comes out as $500, you're going to want a game. Even you're going to want to buy the PlayStation 5. Say it's $500. You're going to want to buy Spider-Man Miles Morales or Kena or any of those games that are coming out around that launch window, and you're going to maybe want a second controller. So I would say, just budget $600 to $650 if you're wanting a good launch experience.
All right. You heard it here first.
Which is that's a lot to ask in 2020, I feel like.
Yeah,
so
it is.
We'll see. We'll see how it all comes together.
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have been so much to ask had they told us in July. But if they're going now, if they come out next or at the end of this month and say, hey, it's going to be this much, and they still want big sales, I think they're trying to avoid big sales is my theory on it. They don't have the amount of systems that they really want. But if they want to avoid a huge, sales, then they're doing it just right. They're going to have not enough people out there in line to buy their systems, because only the people who have that cash on hand are going to be there. And those are the people who are, financially well off during a pandemic.
Yeah, or they could open up a second mortgage, so.
Or, in-depth themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not the best way. If you're listening, do not pull debt to get the system.
Don't listen to Mike. He's just joking. All right. Well, Brian, I know you're on time crunch a little bit here. You said I'm gonna pull on you here. You just updated your top 5 Mario list. Do you have that handy? Do you know what it is?
I could probably give you some semblance of what it would be.
All right. So what are
I'm not gonna do it off the top of my head.
All right, sounds good. What are your top 5 Mario games in light of the recent Mario news for our leaderboard section?
All right. So I'm gonna try to start backwards. So give me a second to piece it. I have my top 4. I'm trying to think of what number 5 would be.
Okay.
You know what? Let me bring up my list. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna bring up my list. Let's just do Galaxy 2 at number 5.
Okay.
64 at 4.
Okay.
Odyssey at 3. Mario 3 at 2. And Mario World at 1.
Super Mario World at 1? Okay.
Yeah. So Mario World at number 1. Mario 3 at number 2. Mario Odyssey at number 3. Mario 64 at number 4. And Mario Galaxy 2 at number 5. Okay, and I know that is different if you go to my rankings because the rankings also had some input from other members of the staff. I just ended up doing some slight tweaks and everything and modifications. So that is my personal list. If you want kind of the Game Informer list, you can go to my article on GameInformer.com.
Oh, it's all good. So many plugs. I love it.
That's the list right there.
That is.
I'm sad to see that Duck Hunt wasn't up there or Mario Kart.
I'm going mainline. I'm doing mainline Mario games. Mario Kart is a whole separate franchise as far as I'm concerned.
I'm with you.
What? Is it?
Yeah. I mean, mainline Mario is different.
It's the same characters.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think me personally, I would put Odyssey a little bit higher. I thoroughly enjoyed that game so much. I think it just felt so good. And to have a year where you have Breath of the Wild, 10 out of 10, and then follow that up with Super Mario Odyssey, 10 out of 10. I thought it was a brilliant game. Otherwise, I think I agree with most of your list. I mean, Super Mario Brothers 3 you have to have on there just because of the tail, just the new power-ups were so fun in that one.
Was 3 where you could drop behind the scenery as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it was
you go behind the end thing.
The giant world, the ability to fly, those were all revelatory moments in that franchise.
Oh yeah. Just amazing.
That was great.
Amazing. And
I remember that game.
And to have the Super Mario All-Stars now on the Switch, I think that's going to be pretty fun to dive back into. Super Mario World. I don't know if I would have a number 1. I don't know.
Wow.
Just because
that's fine. I mean, a lot of people will put 3 as their first. I mean, that's the eternal debate. I feel like is the best Mario game Mario 3 or Mario World, and I fall on the Mario World side.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely
part of that might be nostalgia fueled, but
I agree with that. I'm on the Mario World side as far as the 2D. I'm just more of the. See, I was born in 92, so majority of my Mario time has been 3D. So I would probably put 64 a little bit higher just because of the nostalgia. But man, that's a good list, Brian. That's a good list. I don't think you could.
I mean, Odyssey is my favorite 3D Mario game, so I'm with you there. I mean, it finally eclipsed 64, which I didn't think was. I mean, it was kind of like a Breath of the Wild over Ocarina of Time type thing, where it harkened back to those feelings that Mario 64 gave me, where it just dumps you in this big open area and you have multiple objectives you can go complete and you just kind of go do them, and that's what Mario 64 did. And I think Mario Odyssey, just like Breath of the Wild was kind of the ultimate realization of so many parts of what Ocarina of Time did, Mario Odyssey was that with 64. So it passed, both of those entries passed their kind of the games they were succeeding, and I think that Nintendo did a great job delivering on what those formulas were trying to capture, more than 20 years prior, or I guess just around 20 years prior if you look at the release dates.
No, that's amazing. Thank you for hitting us up with your top 5 Mario games. I think I agree with the 5 that are on there. I think I would put Odyssey higher for myself, but that's good. Brian Shea, you made it. You have done an episode of First Take. Thank you once again so much for joining us. It's really humbling experience. To
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks. Glad you got to just chat about video games and just like your time in the video game industry. Where can people who listen to this find you on socials? We know you're at Game Informer, so go check out his articles there, listeners. But where can they find you on socials?
So on Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Brian P. Shea. It's SHEA is how you spell Shea. I make dumb jokes on Twitter and tweet about video games and UFC. And then on Instagram, it's just food pics, pictures of lakes that I live by, and selfies. So come get some, I guess, or not, or just ignore this part.
Yeah,
go on with your life.
Like I said, I'm only 3 hours away. I'm gonna come over for dinner one of these days. Your plates just look too good. No, I'm kidding. You just met me.
I'm buying a security system now.
Weird.
Dang it. All right. Well, everybody listening, we are the 90s First. Jelly and I are at the 90s First on all socials, as well as 90s First on our Patreon. You can support us. We really don't care. We just want you to listen to the podcast and enjoy the content that we are bringing. As well as the most recent episode. If you're listening to this, it's very special. I really hope that you go and check it out. We were able to record with a good friend of ours, Cicero Holmes, on Black Panther and Chadwick Boseman's legacy as an actor and just how he impacted the Black community, as well as Cicero's viewpoint on how it impacted him as well as a Black American. So please, if there's any episode that I implore you guys to listen to, go ahead and out. It was really a joy to record. Well, Jelly, Brian, want to get out of here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Enjoy our Sunday.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Brian. It was such a pleasure. Well, everybody, hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening. Bye.